Well, hello. I'm Ron Burgundy, and welcome to the Five to Go podcast. Look, I just watched Anchorman last week with a bunch of friends and my coworker Rachel Cox Rosen, who'd never seen it before. So hey, I'm all juiced up on Mountain Dew, and we got a big show for you. As Devin was in Richmond, we're going to recap all that there was there, and not just the surprise win. Oh yeah, and this new swag too. Going to talk about the 2026 NASCAR schedule. One of the longest tenured drivers maybe ever in NASCAR, but certainly currently in NASCAR, is finally hanging it up. And we'll see what else we get into as we preview Daytona and gear up for the Cup Series playoffs here on 5 to Go. And welcome to, I don't know, episode, was it 296 or something? I actually don't remember. Is it 326 maybe of the 5 to Go podcast? Some plus or minus 30. We're here with you, Doug Fireball Turnbull from the traffic team at 11 Alive here in Atlanta. And with Rachel Cox Rose, got to mention her name a second time. Also part of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution Gridlock Guy column, part of the announcing team at Performance Racing Network, and honored to be with you and with our esteemed co-host here on the 5 to Go podcast. Welcome to the show. We got a lot to dive into. Joining us first off, he is back in his Richmond black and Don behind him in his now alumni, University of North Georgia Blue, our roving racing journo, super racing fanalist, who also is going to be at Daytona this weekend. And his hair's better than mine. Devin Kupka, how you doing, brother?
I am doing well in the middle of a back-to-back. You mentioned UNG alumni. I just got an email yesterday that my diploma shipped. Now, can you believe this? To look at my diploma online, I actually have to pay for it.
To look at it online? What about
Just to look at it, to download it, just to have a digital version of it.
To be fair, Devin,
I thought I paid them enough already.
Look, you have. Your parents, I mean, you've paid them enough already. I want to tell you something. I did graduate from Georgia State University back during the Bush administration, the second Bush. I have never seen my college. I don't even know that I ever got my college diploma. I mean, I graduated for sure. I walked. In fact, I called in to Captain Herb's NASCAR show, the Allen Vigil 120, while I was in the old Georgia Dome, and did a hit on the show before going to walk, but I did not get a diploma. So I think it's going to be okay. You know what I say, Dan Elliott? I say, don't pay for it. Don't get it.
And also another thing too,
screenshot
just like your coworker, I need to watch Anchorman as well.
Wait a sec. Dan, hold on a minute. Dan Elliott, master maker of speed, grinder of all gears at Dawsonville, 2018 Georgia Racing Hall of Fame inductee. Dan Elliott, have you seen Anchorman?
Several times.
Well, hello. Okay. So I just had a viewing party.
Almighty.
Okay, well that's exactly the same. Wow, yeah, and I've seen Titanic. Okay, so look, by the way, we will not be doing any scenes on the show inside of an old car.
Okay, is Devin Kupka watch Joe Dirt?
No.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm still trying to watch Stroker Ace.
I haven't seen I only saw it maybe one time, Stroker Ace. So I'm behind. But hey, I can beat all of you as far as race fans goes, as I still, and we've said it on the show before, have never seen Cars.
How about American Graffiti?
I know about it, but I've never seen it. Now, if we're going to get into classics, like actual good movies, I really haven't seen a lot of them. But Devin's a media guy and still hasn't seen Anchorman. All right. Last week, we had a watch party here at Casa de Turnbull with my traffic team members, Stephen Boise, the photographer, who he and I sit in our 11 Alive traffic impact tracker every day and for 4 hours talk like Anchorman. When we're not on the air, we are talking to each other like Anchorman, calling each other Baxter and whatnot. And Rachel had not seen it. All right. So we invited them over and had a big time. Our friend Taylor was here too. Momo was here. Taylor's basically a proxy co-host of the show as often as I mention her. And we had a big time watching it. But now we need to have, Dan, we need to have a watch party. And we're inviting ourselves over to the Kupka house in Cumming, Georgia. I will bring the DVD that's the unrated DVD. It says the F word more than once. And Devin, we will give you some money out of our wallet.
And are you going to bring the beer that spilled on the side of the highway this morning?
Oh my gosh, yes. I will bring some Creature Comfort Tropicalias because that was among the litany of litter on the side of I-20 eastbound between Stonecrest and Conyers here, East Metro Atlanta this morning. I was right there on the scene with the suds, and I was just far enough away from the suds. I couldn't pick up any freebies.
Smokey and the Bandit have a wreck on I-20.
Oh my gosh. All right, Dan, describe to us. We're going to get into the race. Hold on. We're having too much fun. Describe to us, Dan, the meme that you sent us this morning that has to do with Smokey and the Bandit.
Well, it was started out with the caption of Forrest Gump's mama in bed as before she's about to pass away, I suppose. And she looks over at Forrest and says, "I have something to say to you." And then the next caption is Sally Field sitting in Burt Reynolds' lap in the Trans Am in the movie Smokey and the Bandit. And she says, "The bandit is your father."
That's fantastic. Sally Field was so much range, by the way. All right, so much range, and just and I'm not trying to be weird. I think one of the most attractive actresses in history is Sally Field, and I mean that in the most respectful way. I'm not trying to use any other, like, I just think, like, just how pure, how great Sally Field. So
Yeah, but you're thinking of the Flying Nun.
all the things, especially in Smokey and the Bandit. My gosh, the way she just is spitfire to Burt Reynolds in that movie is
Mrs.
fantastic.
Doubtfire.
Yeah. Oh God, I forgot about that. Yeah. All right. So what
I
we're
bet
building.
Devin hadn't watched Mrs. Doubtfire either. Nope.
It's a drive-by fruiting. Okay, I've only seen that like once or twice, but I remember that from a bunch of commercials. Okay, all right, look, we're going to get into the Richmond race here. Devin, you were on scene. Now, I didn't realize this till a day or two later. Saturday night race, and I know they've taken out a bunch of grandstands and put the drink rails and the whole deal. When they say this statistic, I always take it with a grain of salt because we have way less seats at NASCAR tracks, but Richmond has had attendance trouble. They're down to one race this year. The other one got yeeted to Mexico City. Bless you and at you. And did I hear that it was a sellout?
Yeah, it was.
What
It
was
was a
the
sellout
vibe?
race for the first time since 2008. They've taken out a bunch of seats there at Richmond, but believe it or not, there's not as many drink rails as you think there are because, like, where I was at for both races, I was in the press box, which is in the turn one area.
Okay.
Underneath us, there was no drink rails. It's been the same seats that it's always been. But they've taken out a lot of seats, but there's not as many drink rails. But you don't have the whole backstretch, and you don't have the entire turns 3 and 4 at all anymore. So not as much seating, but not as much what we see at like Echo Park Speedway or even at Charlotte, where there's a bunch of drink rails. There weren't too many. They were present, but there weren't. It wasn't overtaking. But there
And did it seem like
it was in 08.
And I'm getting now. This is I've never been to Richmond, at least inside the track. In the infield, is there any place for fans, or is it like Bristol and Martinsville, where it's just all haulers?
It's actually quite a nice infield. In fact, the garage area, I don't think you even need a VIP pass to technically go into this. There's a portion of the garage area that, okay, it might be something similar to what the Neon Garage is in Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I've never been there before, but all the tracks I've been to haven't had like viewing areas for fans that have a regular infield pass, not a NASCAR issued a credential or anything like that. So there was an area that was elevated that was actually inside the garage, but had a little thing, probably about up to the chest or whatever, that you could look over the cars. It got very packed on race day on Sunday, but you could look over the cars in the garage area without actually technically being in the garage. So it's an interesting, Richmond Raceway is an interesting facility. Wow, the infield is really nice, and then the other stuff's all right, I guess, but it was the nicest infield that I've been in, for sure.
Wow, that's okay.
I'd even make an argument it's more fan-friendly than Indianapolis is. And that's a very nice facility.
But do fans...
But when you go to the garages at Indianapolis, it's kind of just a standard garage area.
Okay, so besides the seats, and then there's camping. Are there places that you pull RVs next to the track, like you have at Echo Park Speedway, or is it mainly if you want to watch the race, you have to get a seat? I just haven't been. I don't know.
From what I saw, I don't remember seeing any RVs around the track. So you were parking. It's kind of funny actually how the track sits in Richmond. You can't even you barely can see the track from the road, and I'm talking like the intersection of where like the track is. You can't even see it from the road. Like, you have to get closer or actually get on the property to actually see the track. Okay. It's kind of weird.
I'd love to go. Richmond is a great city, great place to be. So I'm going to, and my wife, Momo, her first time living in America was for a semester in 2008, probably the last time they had that Richmond sellout, the race that Kyle Busch wrecked Dale Jr., by the way, when Jr.'s first season in the 88 car. That race was one of the classics they showed on the NASCAR Tubi and Fast Channel there. But that race, that was, she actually lived there. So we've been to Richmond, I think, twice now and stayed there. And it's a really, really cool spot. So put it on your list, race fans, if you haven't been to the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, Devin, you were there your first time at the track, or no, not your first time at the
I've never
track.
been to Richmond before.
You never been. Okay, sorry. You said when we usually sit in the press box, it got me thrown off. So, what'd you think of the whole weekend in general, and just in particular, what the racing action was like that you saw with your own two eyes compared to what you've seen probably since you've become a race fan, where it went from being the action track to being,
Well, I'd say the weekend was fun. It was a little different than what it has been this whole year, where it was only 2 days of on-track action. So it was kind of more condensed. But the racing action, especially the Cup race on Saturday night, was pretty good. The truck race was, honestly, the truck race kind of redeemed itself late in the race.
yeah,
That we saw that just the changes and everything with the late caution and all that, and that really changed a lot of things. But I'd say the Cup race was certainly a lot better than the truck race because we saw a lot of tire wear in the Cup race, whereas the truck race was more of kind of follow the leader, honestly. We didn't see a lot of cautions at all. I think we didn't get a regular caution until after stage 2 ended. So really, or it might have been stage, I don't know. It was a while before we got a normal caution that wasn't a stage caution. But the Cup race was a lot of fun to watch because seeing the different strategies pull out, and that was really cool to see. And I think that was something different that we saw, say, the Bristol Spring Race earlier this year.
Yeah. Oh, the Xfinity Series was off this weekend, so it's really the two main features there at Richmond. We had ARCA action. I think it was Brent Cruz that went to Victory Lane, DuQuoin, Illinois State Fairgrounds. There's other short track stuff we get into. We'll stay with the NASCAR National Series for analysis on this show because we do have a lot to dive into. Like I said, schedule, Truck Series, silly season stuff, and all that. So, but let me get one more thing, Devin. Now, look, I don't usually do this. All right, it is, in fact, it is not normally common for NASCAR media to do this, but if I see something on TV, it's right there in front of me, and I texted you when I saw it. I said, Devin, get me the tea. All right, we're having the Atlanta Tea Party here. You ready? I saw in the opening when they were doing the national anthem and everything for trucks, that Chandler Smith, who at one point earlier this season was estranged from Kenzie Smith, his wife, there was actually, it went, Reddit talked about it again. The regular media didn't mention it, and I understand why. It's very sensitive, but she had filed for divorce, said some unsavory things about the Georgia driver, Chandler Smith. But I noticed that she was at the racetrack with the kids and standing next to him on the grid. And that made me happy because I like reconciliation, and it may have been that he was just visiting his kids. And I also saw Aaron Blaney standing right next to Lane Riggs. So what'd you find out, Devin?
If I ever moved to Charlotte, I could probably start filling you in on some tea, but I don't know anybody personally like that to know what's going on. I did have a coworker at North Georgia about 2 years ago. Their cousin or their brother or something, not their brother, but one of their cousins dated. Oh, I'm forgetting.
Wait. Your coworker's cousin's brother dated.
No, they're my coworker's cousin or something. They had a family member that was dating a racer. I forget the driver's name.
Okay. So
it was
a
an
coworker
Xfinity
who we
Series
can't
driver.
remember, whose cousin we can't remember, and a driver we can't remember. Okay, you heard it right here first.
The coworker was named John. He works at the University of North Georgia, but I forget the NASCAR driver his cousin was dating.
Brent Sherman. Okay, now that's 2006 Rookie of the Year candidate who did not run the full season. Hey, Dan, was I wrong to bring that up? Okay, look, I'm not trying to gossip. It was on TV. It was right there in front of me, all right? It wasn't a rumor I heard. It's what I saw right in front of me. Was I wrong to bring that up?
I don't know. It just doesn't factor in to me on what we're here to do. And I love to talk about the racing, but the personal interest, we'll leave that for the personal column in the paper.
There you go.
We could become the most unique NASCAR podcast and talk about all the gossip.
So you'd
like
be
that
unique,
now.
all right.
Yeah. Unique New York.
That'd be
Unique.
one of the nice words they'd call you.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Unique New York. Okay,
because as my mama said, what goes around comes around. So
no, that's true.
If you want to talk about it, then be prepared.
Yeah, I don't want to get sucked into the racetrack.
I will say this. I brought those things up only because I noticed them and because I like seeing good news. All right. I like seeing good news. If it was something tawdry, I might not have brought it up. But I saw, Aaron Blaney for a long time dated William Byron, and then they broke up right before last season. And then, it's the Aaron Blaney comeback tour. It's the Smith family comeback tour. I'm all about it.
Remember what I told you about Martinsville 1987? It was one of the races that was televised, and the announcer came on. The bleachers were about half full. It was an hour before race time. The announcer came on and said, "We're an hour before race time. We're getting ready to go on live TV. If you are here with someone you should not be here with, slide down a row."
This is like there was this, and I don't know if he's still with us. This is so long ago, I can't imagine that he is. But there was this DJ named Jason Alley Patrick. They called him Alley Pat, and he was a DJ at one of the first, if not the only, black-owned radio stations in Atlanta for decades. And he also was very tangential to the civil rights movement and knew the main players, knew Martin Luther King and knew Hosea Williams. And at Hosea Williams' funeral at Ebenezer, the famed Ebenezer Baptist Church here downtown Atlanta, Sweet Auburn, and I think it was 2000 or 2001. No, 2000. I think it was the end of 2000. Jason Alley Patrick gets in front of this crowd and says, "All right." He goes, "I want all of Hosea Williams' girlfriends to stand up and wave at us." At the funeral, man. And they did. That's fun. That's fun. All right. I love that the announcer said that. Okay. If anybody was offended by me bringing that up, respond right here. Respond right here. Like, share, review, rate, subscribe, annotate, transcribe, and delete. Okay. Now,
It'll be the same
Corey
one
Heim.
you turn on the ramp before you get on the interstate.
I talked about that today on The Take with Chesley McNeil on 11live.com. All right, today, let's get back to it. Corey Heim, the winner of Friday's truck race, and second place finisher was Ty Majeski. We'll talk about some big news involving him and his team here in a moment. Majeski, as Devin noted, it was a very single-file race up front for sure. He dominated. He got back to what we were used to seeing him and the number 98 team and trucks do, and he is still winless this year. He got spun out by Matt Crafton, who we'll talk about in a moment, in a situation where Crafton hit some oil or some kind of fluid and slid up the racetrack. At first, it looked like he dumped his teammate.
Yeah.
And Majeski was so lucky that the caution came out during a pit cycle, and he ended up second, even though he hit the wall or spun out. So unlucky in the fact, and so fast that he was still able to maintain second place with a beat-up truck, Devin. But he also lost the race, which by all means should have won. Of course, it's not a fast truck contest or fast car contest, as Brad Gilley always says on PRN. It is a race, and whoever gets to the checkered flag first. So, Devin, you talked to Ty Majeski, or at least were at his media scrum post-race. What was that like? And Corey Heim seemed like a guy that's won about 7 races this year afterwards. He's like, "Yep, I won." So how was Ty Majeski?
It was a little deflating because he led so many laps in that race, and really it was just kind of, they had it there at the end. Matt Crafton, you got to feel for him as well. It's just not having the results over the past couple of years, but you really just got to feel for, the vibe was kind of like they just got to get a little bit more consistent after the race. Ty Majeski's like, they had it there and then they didn't. Now that was a little odd that his teammate, it just happened to be wrong place, wrong time. And yeah, it was really kind of the vibe that you got on pit road after the race with Ty Majeski. But it's just unfortunate to see that, where a race that was pretty not status quo, but just you didn't have a lot of variables play out except the standard strategy you would see in Richmond Raceway.
Tires did matter, though. Tires did matter. Maybe not as much of the Cup race, but they did matter. That's a good point, though. So it was Heim, Majeski, and I'm going a little more depth of this because they set their playoff field, all right? It was Heim and Majeski, 1-2. Majeski, I still can't believe he's winless this year, but ThorSport overall has been in tough shape. But it wasn't all bad news for them on Friday night. Lane Riggs finished third for Front Row Motorsports, the 34 truck. Sammy Smith, Slammin' Sammy from the Xfinity Series, is running one of the Spire Motorsports number 7. He was in the number 7, and he actually led 31 laps after starting 5th in the race and finished 4th. And Corey LaJoie, who's running the rest of the season, not in the 07 truck as previously thought, but the 77. They have shut the 07 truck down for the rest of the year after Andres Perez de Lara left the team, and he went over to Nice Motorsports to replace Caden Honeycutt. Perez de Lara, by the way, had a situation where he spun out on a restart, but they didn't bring out a yellow. It was like a half spin, and he finished 21st. The other driver mentioned Caden Honeycutt that got dislodged after deciding to run for what's likely to be Tricon Garage next season. Caden Honeycutt ended up 10th in that race and ran better than that. Bring all that to say they set their playoffs, and there was really only one spot up for grabs, barring a separate winner. And that was the spot that had Jake Garcia entering that race with, I think it was either 11 or 13 points to the good over his teammate Ben Rhodes and the rookie Giovanni Ruggiero, who is in the Tricon Garage number 17. He was also with an outside chance to point his way in. As it turned out, Ruggiero finished 6th, Monroe George's Garcia finished 7th, and Rhodes finished 8th. But Garcia got 12 more points in the race than Ben Rhodes based on stage points, Devin. And I'm sorry, I'm going to come to you, Dan, eventually. Just Devin was there. And there was a point on the last restart where Jake Garcia, he was like, or what, before the last caution, he was about 3rd, I think, 2nd or 3rd. He exited the pits at 7th, fell to 14th on the restart, and Ben Rhodes was up to 5th, and you're going, oh no, it's slipping away. And then Rhodes, who just didn't have a great truck on long runs, fell back. Garcia, who's a third-year Truck Series driver and struggled like crazy the last year especially, drove up and passed him, and that was the playoffs there. So what was there much made about the playoffs on the ground, Devin? It's tough to gauge the excitement level in trucks versus Cup.
It's hard, and it was kind of hard. I'll be honest, it was kind of hard to follow the playoff bubble during the truck race because two things, actually. No private Wi-Fi in the press box, so you had to connect to the guest Wi-Fi or have your own signal, and it's supplied to the media center as well. But the audio with synced up with the TV broadcast that you'd see at home was on a 15-second delay compared to what you were seeing at the track. So, or it might have been more of that. It might have been more because
so they were probably streaming it in or something.
What you were hearing was a lap behind of what you were seeing.
Okay, well. Welcome to Richmond. I don't know what to say about that. That's crazy. That it does make it tough. I mean, and I was watching at home, so the stream
and my
at
scanner
home
didn't work properly throughout the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I use at the track unless I'm out on pit road, I'm using the NASCAR, NASCAR.com anyway. But you got to pay for that for sure. So that's disappointing to hear. They did a decent job. Actually, I would say TV did not do a great job covering it because there was a point where Garcia was almost out of the playoffs, and it didn't even get mentioned by our off-site announcers for the Truck Series. This is the freaking playoff elimination race, and Devin was closer to the action than Jamie Little, Regan Smith, and Michael Waltrip.
They're going to do the Roval from the studio.
Oh, wait. You mean they're not even coming to the track? Well, that's horse-pucky.
They're most likely going to be doing it from the studio from somebody I talked to a few weeks ago.
That makes sense. I wonder who that was. That makes sense. I'm just joking. I mean, it makes sense that they're in the Charlotte production facility. Why would they tear it all up to do one race at the Roval? But whatever. It's paper airplanes. But anyway, that's the Truck Series race. They're not on track again until I actually got to pull up their schedule. When are they? Their playoffs will start similar. I guess they're Darlington. Yeah, Darlington. So their playoffs and the Cup playoffs will start on the same day. The Xfinity Series still has a couple of races until theirs is decided. Xfinity back in action on Friday from Daytona, the Wawa 250. More on that in a moment. All right, Dan, what did you think of the Cup race Sunday there where we saw Austin Dillon go to victory lane and saw a lot of tire fall off?
I'll start from the very beginning because I thought it was a really good race because it was exciting to me through the field. And they were able to capture more, I think, because Richmond is a tri-oval. You get to see a lot more of the race in action further around the racetrack without going to different segments. So you get to see that a little bit further. And in that, you get to see a lot more action as it portrays, as it plays out through the field. So that part I liked, and the fact that there was enough things going on with all, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, a lot of the teams, there was enough stuff going on that kept you in suspense of either that driver being able to make up for a tire, for a situation they got in, the speeding, the so forth, and it kept you on your toes, keeping up with your driver, other drivers, and where they were going to play out at. And it really did stay that way to me almost to the very end. It kind of played out to the bitter end.
It did, and you needed all of it. To me, it seemed in doubt, even though Austin Dillon had it bagged with a couple seconds lead there. You never knew, would his tires fall off a cliff? Would Blaney find a rabbit in his hat? Ryan Blaney had some interesting comments post-race. because their strategy, I think, once Dillon short pitted into pit road, all right, which was a great call by the number 3 team, and he has Chase Briscoe's crew chief from last year. I always forget his last name, Richard. Help me, Devin.
No.
Boswell, yes, Richard Boswell. That's it.
I thought that was no. Never mind. Burnett's Bush's crew chief.
Yeah, I always want to say Richard Milhouse, like Richard Milhouse Nixon.
Or Milhouse from The Simpsons.
Well, but that's Milhouse of The Simpsons is named after Richard Nixon's middle name. That's why it's funny. Like I just always want to say Richard Milhouse for some reason. So Richard Boswell, who came over from Briscoe's team. Remember, Boswell got the walk-off win with Briscoe a year ago at Darlington. And here he is with just enough strategy up his sleeve there to help Austin Dillon out. They pit 4 laps earlier than Blaney, basically. They come to pit road probably a lap before Blaney and the 12 team, Jonathan Hassler, were expecting it. And so they decided, well, let us stay out just a couple laps longer to give us that much more good on our tires. And Blaney was down with it, but he said he went out there and he was saving, trying to give that last push at the end. And then when he went to give the last push at the end, he had no right rear tire left, basically. And that says a lot about Austin Dillon's ability. It says a lot about whatever they're cooking up in the kitchen at the 3 shop, that the 8 team of Kyle Busch, who Kyle Busch did show speed in this race, so he had some wrecking ball moments too. Something they didn't have, and Dillon had it for the 2nd year in a row outright. So he leads 107 laps. I saw a stat. This was now granted, most tracks it's really hard to lead 100 laps because you only run 200 or 300. This is a 400 lap race. This is the first time, Dan, you ready, that the 3 car has led 100 or more laps in a race since Dale Earnhardt in the 1998 Daytona 500.
That is hard.
What a stat, huh?
Yep, that is hard.
Now, there was there's 15 years where we didn't have a 3 car from the second race of 2001 all the way to 2013. So 14 seasons of no number 3 car, but still the first time in 27 years that the 3 car has led more than 100 laps at a cup race. That's just one of those ESPN kind of stats. That's kind of cool.
Remember, Senior's last win at Talladega, his last career win was at Talladega, and he only led, the last 2 laps of that race in the fall Talladega race in 2000?
Exactly. And obviously Dillon's not been out there beating the world down even when he wins, but he does win the race. A guy that needed to finish second, Alex Bowman, to help keep himself with a chance to maybe point his way into these playoffs here. And he's still to the good. He finishes second in the race. As we mentioned, Ryan Blaney was third. And how about the Penske triumvirate, 3rd, 4th, and 5th? Joey Logano and Austin Cindric rounding out that, with Josh Berry finishing 8th in the race. So that's all 4 Penske-related Fords finishing in the top 10. It's funny. The playoffs are coming up. Oh, a flat, short track. No way. I wonder if the garage is quaking in their boots right now, Devin.
Hey, they're going to have competition at New Hampshire when SVG's racing there.
SVG.
He won that. I didn't get a chance to ask him, but he won that. He won the Legends race at Charlotte Oval. He's coming.
Devin, you get a prize for the most useful things. You get a prize. I don't know that we're equating the Legends track at Charlotte to the New Hampshire, but okay, hey. SVG did finish the first car 1 lap down this race, 14th, and considering he was ahead of the likes of Carson Hocevar, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, who had a penalty in the race and another bad pit stop. Ty Gibbs had the race from hell and still finished 18th. He finished ahead of AJ Allmendinger, Ross Chastain, all these guys. That's saying something, that he's finally starting to punch at least where his weight is, and he was the second highest finishing of his teammates, because Daniel Suarez got back-to-back top 10s, I think, for the first time all season. He finished in the top 10 there. Where were they at? It was Watkins Glen last week, right? Where SVG won?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Suarez with back-to-back top 10s. That's a pretty big deal. But Van Gisbergen, they're finishing right in the thick of his teammates, too. Kyle Larson finished 6th, and he has been off the charts in a bad way really since May. And only 9 laps led there. Brad Keselowski, who needs a win and had some speed there Saturday night, but was never a race-winning factor, was 9th. Denny Hamlin there was 10th. And we had the strange wreck, too, where Kyle Busch got into Chase Briscoe, Dan. It triggered a Richmond monster, 12-car wreck, I believe it was. And the only one I think that got a DNF out of it was one who had his first DNF all year and second straight top 20 finish after having 0 top 20s in the first 20-something races, and that's Chase Elliott. Dan, what'd you think of the wreck, and in particular the Elliott-Busch contact when the wreck was over? Justin Haley was eliminated in that crash too, by the way.
It was one of those things where you, if you hadn't been able to replay it and look at it, but you're still sitting there thinking, how did this happen? You're just sitting there kind of asking yourself, how did this happen? Why did this happen? But that just shows you how grouped up the field was. It was almost like the field was the first race in a while to me that it looked like that most everyone was on the same page and competitive. And it was, anybody made a mistake, it reflected, as we see when they're running packs at Daytona and Talladega, it reflected through a lot of cars being involved. So one of those things where, number one, I didn't see it coming. I don't know that anybody else did, and surprised to see it when it happened, and amazed that it took one car out and Chase was the one car.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough to fathom, I guess, how rough that was. Just like, you know what I mean? Like
it was a hard hit.
What happened there? Yeah, yeah. So Chase Elliott there, and basically it's like he was out of the wreck and then kind of blends down the track, and Kyle Busch was there, and they both race a deal. I think they both kind of end up in the same spot, and Busch continued on and was in the top 10 at that point too. But what do you think, Dan? I promise that I'm not trying to skip you over, Devin, because I got some stuff I want to ask you about Chase, especially when we get to the schedule talk here in a moment. Dan, you're Kyle Busch. You're an all-time great. Going to be a Hall of Fame first ballot, 2-time champ. And Austin Dillon has won twice in the last year, basically, over 2 seasons. And you at Richmond have been out to lunch, basically, in comparison, and have not done much anywhere else. I mean, how in the world do you reconcile that?
Well, this is kind of one of those things that is building up, and I don't think we've seen the end of it yet, but this keeps building. And that was one of those things this past weekend that was off the chart, because I would have been livid if I was Kyle Busch as well, because I'm thinking my teammate is up front. He's got the car that looks like the one to be beat. There were moments that it didn't look that way, obviously, but in the end, it looked like it couldn't be beat, and certainly was one of the best cars when the time had to be right to be the best car. Certainly one of the best cars. Certainly ended up being the best car, and there Kyle Busch is. But I'd be livid as well. I'd be trying to find out what the difference was in setups, and how differently the car performs with the setup. Were they identical? Were they trying to keep on the same program as with Kyle Busch's car as with Austin's car? I don't know, but it really looked like they were out to lunch, and Kyle was frustrated. And when you get that way, you can do no right. It's one of those days where when things start going wrong, when you get an attitude like that, well, I didn't get the best, or this is not working out, what's going wrong? It's one of those days that kind of just snowballs, and you end up short end of the stick. And after the race is over, you're sitting there scratching your head wondering, how did this happen?
That's a great point. That's a great point. We like to project robot superhero, so to speak, onto drivers, but they've got to go cut, in this case, 400 of their best laps. And it's not 400 qualifying laps, but 400 competitive laps on the edge of grip.
Not only that, it's 400 of your best laps, but you also, as Dale Sr. said, you got to have you got to have horseshoes in your back pocket, that you're not involved in somebody else's day that's not having a good day.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, Kyle Busch ended up, after running in the top 10, ended up finishing 16th. He's in must-win territory here for these playoffs. And let's mention those. Ryan Preece won the pole for the race. did a zero pit strategy in that oddly short stage one. He and the 9 car Chase Elliott, they both just didn't pit, and they ended up netting out where they were in the top 15 basically. So I don't know that worked out, but they saved a set of tires in case there was a late caution at the end of the race. But by the time the end of the race came, they'd already used the extra set of tires, so it didn't net out well. And then Priest got caught up in the 12-car crash and ended up finishing 4 laps down, I think because of crash damage. He just was complete non-factor at the end, and he was 35th. Another playoff driver, another person, playoff contention. They could have had it. Brad Keselowski, like I said. But Priest seemed like the one. Chris Buescher, he won here a couple years ago. And where did he end up? He was not. Oh, yeah, he ended up 30th, 2 laps down. I'm not even sure what happened there. Do you know, Devin, how Buescher ended up 30th? I don't think there was a penalty, but you saw other drivers. Ty Gibbs had a couple of different things go wrong. One penalty and a long pit stop, and then he gets plowed over by Daniel Suarez, who's also trying to drive her to the playoffs. Suarez had the tire advantage, and that spins Gibbs up into another playoff driver, Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick has a car that's good enough to lead, good enough to win, crashes, hits the wall. He's out of contention. And now Reddick faces the possibility that we didn't think was there because we've now had 14 different winners with Austin Dillon on the board. Reddick is only 29 points ahead of Alex Bowman. If there is a different winner, and if Reddick, the 45 team, crap the bed somehow at Daytona and lose a bunch of points to Bowman, Bowman could outpoint Reddick into these playoffs. In fact, if I were Reddick, I would be rooting for Alex Bowman to win this race and be the last person in on points to take away all the suspense. And you better bet, by the way, that the Hendrick Armada is going to be lining up right behind the 48 of Alex Bowman, who has a good record at super speedways, by the way, and pushing him to the front. But yeah, Tyler Reddick. It was also tough for the other Toyotas too. Denny Hamlin crash damage, pit road penalty, slow pit stop at one point. Bubba Wallace was both lucky and unlucky. He had a wheel come off, but it followed him down pit road, hit the back of his car, and he stopped in the 19 pit stall. They went out and bolted it on. He did get a penalty for pitting outside of his pit box, which is always there. That's a pass-through penalty. It was under green. So he essentially got the same 2-lap penalty you would have gotten it if it had flown off on the track and brought out a yellow. So Bubba Wallace went from top 5 car, 28th place finish. And Corey Heim was nowhere to be found in that race. Riley Herbst had nothing there, but it was tough. And then last one that actually may have had a little speed, Christopher Bell had a couple of bad pit road issues too, including a wheel that started to come off and a commitment line violation, a rare commitment line violation, and he finished back too. So that was tough, Devin, for the Toyotas there. And we're not even talking about the antitrust suit.
Yeah, that was just kind of rough there, especially for Bubba Wallace, because I would say he had the best car there by far, and I believe he led the most laps as well in the Cookout 400. But I just feel really bad for him that he
did 123 laps.
He led. I feel like he had that race won for the most part, and then that thing happens on pit road, something that's technically out of his control, and then he has to pit in another pit box, receives a penalty for that, all of that stuff, and that just pit road cost him his day.
Yeah,
and it's just unfortunate.
There are a good many pit road penalties, and our favorite would be Kyle Busch speeding through, I think I heard it was 10 pit boxes at one point. But Richmond has a weird curve on pit road. That's how Denny Hamlin said he got caught. If you push the limit on the lights and you drive too deep in the radius of a circle, because it does your average speed from line to line in a box, you move a shorter distance, you have a higher speed. To me, that seems like such a technicality. I wish they could just measure your speed instead of your average speed. Just if you ever crack 10.001 miles an hour over, you're done, or something. I don't know. That's a whole other discussion. I feel like pit road penalties are so weird now.
There's no speedometer in the cup or in any of the cars.
But NASCAR has one. So I'm saying you don't need to measure the average speed. Just say if you ever go, forget the pit. They should take the timing lines off pit road. Pit road should be one long timing line in my perfect world. And if you ever go over 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, which is the grace, right? So 45 miles an hour on a 35 mile an hour pit road or whatever it is, you're out. There you go. Instead of this, he averaged this, and you see the driver speeding up and slowing down. And I know there's finesse involved. It just, I don't know. It just seems too technical to me, but whatever. Of course, it's too technical. All right, that does it for the race there. Does it for the playoff picture. We'll preview Daytona in a moment there. because
That
that's
was a good race. That was a good race with all the tire wear and all that.
yeah.
I think that was a much needed improvement.
Yes,
Short tracks.
good.
Now we
Did,
just got to get that to the point of getting that certainly a Bristol, one of the bigger short track races, which is we haven't seen great. We outside the Food City 500 last year, we really haven't seen that great of racing at Bristol
No.
with this current generation of car.
No, and what made that Food City 500 great last year?
Tire wear.
Tires were coming apart, probably too much so to have like a stable, regular kind of race. So yeah, that's going to be on the hook. Hopefully Goodyear found something, but just because it's a short track, what makes a Richmond good does not necessarily make a Martinsville, a Bristol, or even a bigger track like Dover or Phoenix good. But tire wear, especially when these cars are all the same, basically they're within just a couple of degrees of each other. Bake it in. They're not going to change these Gen 7 cars as much as I think they should just experiment and put Xfinity cars in the Cup Series. Since everybody says those are better cars, but no, they're not going back. Do something with the tires. All right, let's go on then. The schedule, basically, Jordan Bianchi, the Athletic, who's one of the few reporters that's really breaking stories these days. A lot of them are just going with the stories and analyzing them, but Jordan Bianchi had the schedule a day early. He had several of the schedule developments from San Diego and so forth basically nailed down weeks before they got announced. And then, sure enough, here on a Wednesday, NASCAR does put out the schedule. That's, hey, 5 to go. We're doing them on Wednesdays now. Scheduling-wise for us, we got lucky on this one. Devin, you got Bob Pockrass's abstract, basically, that put it all together.
I do, and I'm going to add some notes in here as well.
Please.
Some major changes. We should start off. San Diego, Chicagoland replaced Mexico City in the Chicago Street Race this year. Dover switches dates with North Wilkesboro, so now North Wilkesboro becomes a points-paying race. The Window World 400 at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and they're also going to have a truck race. And then Dover's going to be All-Star Race weekend.
Yeah, hold on. Let's just stop there for a minute. Dover's been on the schedule for almost 60 years. They've gone from 2 races to 1. And now they're going to be able to have a race that's maybe slightly cooler. I mean, not that May is cool, but slightly cooler weather than July. And they don't have lights, so they couldn't do it at night. So that's the only reason I can think of why they moved that around, and maybe to give North Wilkesboro a full race. But
I think, and I'm going to continue going through the points, but I think this makes a case of potentially expanding the schedule in the future, where we could.
Ooh, okay.
But Watkins Glen moves the week prior to Mother's Day weekend. We've never had a Watkins Glen race in the spring, so
that's true.
They're moving into May on Mother's Day weekend. Phoenix is back into the round of 8 and is not the second to last race of the season. It's going to be opening the round of 8. Talladega stays in the same spot, which I think Echo Park should be in. Homestead's a championship race. Another thing too, Echo Park Speedway. The spring race is now the Auto Trader 400, which I believe is something to do with Dover losing their cup, their points-paying race. So, because that was the Echo Park Auto Trader 400, so that sponsorship's going to Atlanta now. And
I need to find out. I need to ask some questions. Echo Park is a used car facility, used car dealership that is owned by Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, that owns, of course, Atlanta Motor Speedway and all the other places. Yes, I know I said AMS. I was just saying that to differentiate. Auto Trader is now an Atlanta-based company owned by my former employer, Cox Enterprises. So I'm trying to figure out, I mean, they must have some business-to-business something where Auto Trader points people to Echo Park. There has to be. What do we do, Dan, if you have what seems like conflicting sponsors, Dan Elliott, on the same race? What must have happened, Dan?
Follow the money trail. Money's always green.
Oh, man.
So
I need my hot button that just has Dan saying "Show me the money," so I don't have to team up like that.
It's not trying to escape the question here. It's the fact that there are so many things that we as fans or that are not close to the nucleus of this will never be able to figure out unless we have a scorecard that can guide us in the right direction. And this won't be the last time. It plays into, Echo Park Speedway and HendrickCars.com and Auto Trader and all of this. There is money in cars right now, and I feel like they're trying to capitalize on the fact that we're going where the money is right now, and that's definitely where the money is. And if you read any of the stories online and so forth, the car industry has done remarkably well since COVID. And I feel like there's a lot of
Yeah,
money
great point. The
there.
prices went up for sure.
Prices went up, and I feel like right now the opportunity to capitalize on that for these people is there. And I do the same thing. I would try to be able to utilize the money from one place to another, and it fuels what we love best. It fuels racing. So just like I was thinking
Yeah.
about for Devin going to Richmond, that was where the tobacco companies, all of that deal pretty much started out up there, and that's what fueled that
Hmm.
industry up there. And look at how many of our vices have done that for all of our sports in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, there on 95, there's a big Marlboro sign there. Actually, when we were talking on the phone
Well,
on
hello.
Sunday morning, there's a big Marlboro sign on
Yeah.
95 South or 95 North,
Well,
just south of the city. But
yeah.
one thing other too with Echo Park, the Quaker State 400 available at Walmart, that is still a night race, but it's back to a Sunday night race, but this time in the middle of July.
This time in the middle of July. So this year it was at the end of June. So it's only a couple of weeks difference. This year I think it was June 28th to June 27th, and next year it's going to be July 12th, right? Yeah, July 12th. What, you're shaking your head?
Oh yeah, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I was like, no, I think it's July 12th. And I'm looking up and down. Are there any more bullet points on the schedule there? So we got San
So-
Diego in, Chicago Street Race out, Chicago Land is in. Chicagoland, which one is Chicagoland replacing?
The oval that's curved on the backstretch.
Right, but what is Chicagoland replacing on the
So
schedule?
San Diego's replacing Mexico City.
That's it.
Chicagoland is replacing the street course race.
Thank you. I knew I was ahead of my skis there. We
No
got a
more
few other
party.
dates shifting around. Of course, Homestead, which we already knew was going to be the championship ending race. Phoenix is actually second to last or third to last on the schedule there, right? Because it goes Phoenix, Talladega, Martinsville. And then I'm looking up and down the Xfinity schedule too, and I'm trying to see they still are going to go to Rockingham next year. Their playoffs begin at Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway in September. I'm just trying to look up and down their schedule. There's mostly matches up the same as before. They didn't go to Portland this year. They're not going to Portland next year. So that's that. I haven't looked at seeing if they've done anything major with the truck schedule, but the big changes
There's
you
a
said,
big one
Devin.
on the truck one. They're going to St. Petersburg during COTA race weekend. Same weekend as IndyCar and-
St. Petersburg, Russia.
No. St. Petersburg, Florida.
Wow. Okay, instead of COTA, that's interesting.
During IndyCar
Is that a street
weekend.
race or?
IndyCar weekend.
Oh, was that already announced or did that come out today?
That just came out today.
Shoot. Okay, so there's going to be a truck street race preceding the IndyCar main event. St.
No, it's going to be
Petersburg.
on Friday, I think.
Preceding.
Saturday.
Yeah, like the IndyCar is going to be the top show there. Better be.
Yes.
Gosh. Okay. Wow. I somehow thank you for having that, Devin. Now, that's huge, and I think having the trucks do something separate and be with IndyCar, that's a great thing. The COTA weekend is great on its own without having the trucks there. In fact, trucks skipped it this year, didn't they? Yeah, it was just Xfinity and Cup. I
No,
believe
they had trucks there this year.
They did have
I'm
trucks.
pretty sure they did.
I don't think they did.
If that were my
agree to
Were you
disagree.
there this year?
Yeah, I was there this year. Give me a break. No, we didn't. There wasn't because I didn't call a truck race at COTA, and PRN's call it, or NRN, but yeah, there was no truck race at COTA.
Then they
this
might
year.
not have had it this year then.
No, if they didn't have it, that means they didn't have it, not maybe didn't have it. So,
If that were my schedule,
I'm sorry, guys. All right, no,
if that were my schedule to tweak, I would have added, instead of doing away with Dover as a points race, I would have added Dover, and I would have added Rockingham for the 26th season.
okay. Now, there is one thing that Devin, we didn't mention, and to Dan's point, because he's saying add a cup race, but there is an off weekend built in August. Right?
Yeah, but if you
is that
count
the only
the
off
weekends,
weekend?
there's a
No,
lot
there's
of
two
off
off weekends.
There's two.
Well, but I'm saying there's two off weekends this year instead of one they had this year. I don't care if they expand the whatever you want to do. Give these guys and women at least two off weekends. Come on. And I know
They'll
we'll
just
have the
be racing
Olympics in
somewhere.
2028
Yeah,
again.
because
We
you're
don't need to
going to
wait
go
till the
somewhere else
Olympics
and
to have
race.
2 off weekends again.
I hate
That's
to argue
fine.
the point,
That's their
but they're
choice.
going to
Give the
go
whole
race
sport time
somewhere
to
else.
breathe. And 5 to Go is going to have a podcast either way. I'm just saying. All right. So that's big with the schedule. Devin, do you have your video queued up? I wanted to, because you
I
actually
did.
talked to Chase Elliott, asked him specifically before this schedule came out with something. And while you're dialing it up, I know if you're listening 50 minutes into this show now, you know that on 5 to Go, we have a Facebook page and a YouTube page. And when Devin goes to the track, as much as I'd like to say I do much work, I do a scintilla of the work Devin does when we're on scene because I'm doing PR and stuff, right? And Devin gets exclusive driver videos, gets right up close to the drivers, gets stuff you may not see elsewhere. He gets great views of burnouts, all sorts of scene setting, and his really good previews and reviews. So get on YouTube, and if there's something you see that you like, share it with your friends too. Don't keep it all to yourself, okay? So Dev, you talked to Chase.
Yes, I
And
did.
he had some schedule thoughts, and he usually doesn't weigh in on a lot of stuff, right? He keeps it
really
kosher.
doesn't. He likes to keep a lot to himself. But I asked him about Echo Park Speedway and the potential it being later in the playoffs.
Short track race.
And that's consistent. I know you got to find
Echo
the
Park
schedule.
Speedway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoops, I forgot I asked him 2 questions there, but
No, that's
Your home
okay. That was
track.
good. Okay, so he said it. Chase Elliott does not agree with you guys that we should have the regular season finale or the season finale at Echo Park Speedway, at least under this current playoff format. All right, I guess if it was a different format or maybe no playoffs, it'd be different. But Devin, I'm going to get you to weigh in because you asked the question, but I know, Dan, you've talked a lot about Echo Park's placement in the playoffs too. So, Devin, you first. Thanks for asking the question, by the way.
I just out of respect, because I had Bob Pockers right next to me when I asked him this. I don't want to be too redundant with Chase, but I was going to ask him also, because I'd already asked 2 questions at that point. But potentially doing a 3-round final round and having it in there, maybe next time I see him. But
3-race final
round. I think that's interesting though that he doesn't. I mean, I know it's his home track. I wonder. I'm not gonna say that, but
I wish I had that ability.
oh. But I think it's interesting, a home track. He's won twice there under the current configuration. Doesn't want to see it later in the playoffs. And I know Dan and I, we've talked about this before where, Hendrick's Motorsports, their strongest suit is not necessarily the super speedways, at least for most of the season. But to see, Chase Elliott has had success at Echo Park Speedway. It would probably be beneficial to him to have it later in the season, especially with how unique that racing is. But I think a lot of drivers share the same sentiment that they don't want to see these super speedway tracks. Now, I'm not saying we need 2 in the round of 8 or anything like that. I'm just saying put Echo Park. I think realistically, if you want to have like a cinematic playoff, especially at the end of the season, put Echo Park Speedway as the second to last race of the postseason. That'll be the best race every year in and out.
Second to last race of the postseason. All right, so yeah, drivers want to eliminate there's going to be a 27 car wreck. Basically, what we saw at Echo Park Speedway back in June. They don't want that when one bad race, especially late in the playoffs, could completely level your chances there. But Dan, I don't know that Devin laid out the case of why to have it there. And I'm sure, Dan, you're not surprised to see your nephew agree with what other drivers say, that even though he has had success at Atlanta, that he doesn't want it to be that pivotal of a race.
To me, asking a driver is okay. Let's pick out the races that you feel like as he said, him and his organization has the best results consistently over the cookie cutter tracks, the tracks that we see, just as Martinsville and Bristol and Dover and a couple of other places where they consistently run well there. But it goes back to my thoughts on this is, okay, if you've got some drivers that want to eliminate all the road courses from the playoffs and we eliminate the super speedways, NASCAR began on short tracks, on medium-sized, different racetracks. That's how they were born and bred. and we got one road course. I follow that. I understand that, but you still had one road course. And if the argument contends that SVG shouldn't be allowed to run the road courses and be able to pick up as many points and be able to be the champion based on this or get into the playoffs based on this. But how are we going to find our champion driver if we eliminate some of the tracks that is going to show the different characteristics, the driving style that one driver may have, as did Cale Yarborough or Jeff Gordon or Richard Petty, where they were just about good everywhere. And we're going to say that we're only going to run this type of racetrack, to me, goes against what we're trying to do. But I'm looking at it as a fan, not as a driver. So I think I'm on the other side of the fence, and I just want to see a good playoff to where it's a variety of racetracks, and I want to see the best driver emerge after the variety of racetracks are run.
Well, no doubt about that. There's got to be a variety there. I see what they're saying, especially late in it. I mean, if you were going to have it, it would need to replace Talladega. They don't need to maybe have more than one, but you're also not going to be seeing Talladega that's owned by a different company than EPS replaced. So how does it happen? You know, there's going to be, show me the money. It's going to have to be the Auto Trader, Big Bill France, Marlboro, Winston. That's, anyway, you get what I'm saying. It would take a lot to unwind that, but you both make some really good points there. I do think if they revamp the playoffs to make it a little, like, take out the and I'm not asking them to do that. I'm just saying, if you want to follow the argument of, we have a playoffs that are similar to what they were 2004 through 13, where it's a 10-race battery of races where you reset the points only once at the beginning, or maybe you make it shorter and have it 8 races or a few less drivers or whatever. Then you could argue having 2 super speedways to be proportional to the rest of the season. But if you're having eliminations like that, all it takes is one person sneezing in the middle of a 30-car pack, and you know the points leader all year, who's running 17th at the time, who knows, right?
Well,
all right, I think we get that point. We beat it to death there.
We almost saw the same thing at Richmond, which is 3/4 mile racetrack this past weekend, where you get into a lot of cars that were involved in an accident that you did not expect for sure. But that's one of the things about the seasons. Maybe the easiest part of this would be is that NASCAR don't go back to the same racetrack twice, so that one team doesn't dominate that series of tracks to where that's done, and then it will give opportunity to go to other racetracks where you can show that you're good on a variety of racetracks, not the same racetracks twice a year.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I would be okay, although I'd hate to see Daytona not be twice. I guess I'm okay with eliminating a lot of the double doses for sure, and we saw the benefits of that going all the way back to Richmond, right? Where Richmond went down to one race, basically a sellout crowd. Okay, all right, cup race here coming up. Well, let's look ahead to Daytona here as we wrap up 5 to go. Devin's got work coming up. We don't want Devin getting fired. All right, we want him getting full-time employed in media, not fired from Culver's. Okay, so we're gonna get Devin to work on time. We're gonna get him to work on time. All right, but we're coming up basically at about 7:30 or so. Friday night Xfinity, Saturday night trucks. It's summer. It's Daytona. I would plan your evenings with only one eye on the TV or radio, because it's probably going to rain and have something get disrupted. With the Cup Series, 40 drivers going for 40 spots. You have all the open teams, which are front row in 2311. Plus, you have Austin Hill entered in the Childress, number 33. Seems prudent to add a third car in if you've got one driver that needs to make the playoffs, and you can bet the 3 of Austin Dillon will be lined up behind Kyle Busch, trying to push him too. You also have Joey Gase entered in the NY Racing, number 44. Casey Mears, who is trying to get his 500th NASCAR start under his belt, will be in the Garage 66. Carl Longo on number 66, and BJ McLeod will be in the number 78. For the Xfinity Series, you know this is going to attract all sorts of extras, if you will. Caesar Baccarella the co-owner of Alpha Prime Racing, will be in a fourth entry for them, the number 5. That team did used to be Our Motorsports. Remember the 5 was Our Motorsports and Chris Wright, and then they shut down? Well, there's a different number 5, and it's Cesar Baccarella now. Patrick Emmerling will be in the 07. Justin Haley in the number 11. I would watch that one. Justin Haley, Cup Series driver, stepping down back into colleague racing in his own old digs. He has won at Daytona in the Xfinity Series in the 11 car. I'm pretty sure he's won several super speedway races for them. Watch for him. Garrett Smithley from Georgia in the 14 for SS Greenlight. Eric Almirola will be in the number 19. I'm expecting him to push Austin Hill to the win. Wait, maybe not. That'll be for Joe Gibbs Racing. Raja Caruth will be in the number 32 for Jordan Anderson's team there, making another start this year. Mason Maggio in the 35 for Joey Gase. Josh Williams is back. He'll be in the 45 for Alpha Prime Racing instead of Mason Massey and the array of other drivers that have piloted that ride. Joey Gase will be a double duty this weekend, and he'll be in the 53, his own team. Leland Honeyman will be in the 70. Watch Leland Honeyman in the 70. He was very sporty at Atlanta. That 70 car was running in the top 5 and even led some laps, I believe, in that Xfinity race back in July. Watch the 70. He could be a spoiler there. Logan Bearden will be in the 74 for Mike Harmon. Josh Balicki in the 91 for DGM Racing. And Devin's ex, that's fake. Natalie Decker will be in the number 92. Now, that was gossip I made up, okay? That was gossip. No, Natalie Decker, new mom, Natalie Decker, by the way. I think this is her first race back since having a child. I'm pretty sure. Seriously, she'll be in the number 92 for DGM Racing as well. So a lot of drivers to watch. One car will miss that race. 40 drivers for 39 spots. I hope qualifying doesn't get rained out because that would suck. I hate that when there's somebody that's doing a one-off race. They put all their eggs in the basket and, Cesar Baccarella or Raja Caruth or someone doesn't get to have a proper go at that.
I'm buying tickets, so I hope it doesn't rain this weekend.
That's true, yeah. So, and Dev, you're going to be on sale. We're going to do one more thing on the preview, and that's looking at the Gen 7 era Cup Series past races, Daytona. Dev, you're going to Daytona this weekend, so you finally decided you're doing what?
I'm going to be spectating.
Spectating.
It's kind of a little vacation kind of deal going on here.
Okay,
some people.
Spill it, girl, spill it.
Well, one of my good friends just moved to Jacksonville, so I'm going to be staying with him tomorrow night. Probably a little bit more, too. And then we got another group of friends that are also going to the Saturday's race, the Coke Zero Sugar 400. They bought their tickets already, so I can't get us a group rate on tickets now.
Okay.
So, so I don't know if I'll be at the Xfinity race. I'm not sure. I'll definitely be at the Cup race. I know that. But, it'll be a fun weekend. It's going to be more of a vacation deal. It just kind of worked out to be that way.
That's fantastic.
Vacation, but...
That's fantastic. I'm so happy for you. You need that, man. And I know that a lot of these races are tied to, it's recreational as well as going there to work. But I love that you're going to be there with your friends and having a real post-graduation bash there at the track. But you will be doing some social media. No pressure for me to do that. Now, by the way, Xfinity race Friday night, whether you go or not, Connor Zilic is the regular season points leader and is listed on the entry list. And as far as we can tell, any press release, whatever, is pointed to put him in that race. I would think that they would have somebody on standby just in case to hop in the number 88, but he's leading the regular season standings. He only has a 7-point lead over his teammate Justin Allgaier, and Sam Mayer is only a few points behind them. So very much still in doubt there. Let's see, the 30-point gap between Harrison Burton, last year's Cup winner, at Daytona in the summer race, who's now in the Xfinity Series, over his cousin, Jeb Burton. That's a 30-point gap. So there's a lot of people winning your end. Remember, Jeremy Clements a couple years ago, I think it was 2022, won late on a Friday night at Daytona there, then had it taken away and then given back to him and got into the playoffs. Clements, by the way, making his 521st career Xfinity Series start, and that'll break a tie with Jason Keller for third all time. How cool is that, huh? 6 active Xfinity drivers have won at Daytona. You might be surprised to learn Austin Hill has 3 of those wins. Justin Haley has 2. And the other winners, Clements, Allgaier, Almirola, and Jesse Love. Jesse Love, who won, what did he win? Was it? Well, he won Daytona this year, right? In February? Or was that Austin Hill? I think it was Jesse Love that won Daytona this year.
Didn't Austin
Uh,
Dillon open the season with back-to-back wins?
he did. Yes, he did. Sorry, but anyway, Jesse Love's won there too. Watch Jesse Love also. He could be in the thick of it. And I think he won, what was it, Talladega? Yeah, that's what he won. He won Rockingham and it got taken away, and then he won Talladega, right? Is that what happened this year, or was it vice versa? We're just gonna sit here and let y'all think about that.
Yeah, hold on.
I could look it up.
I'll look.
I shouldn't have said that without knowing it. On the Cup Series side, Dev, if you want to punch
Hill
that in
won
real
Talladega, Love won Daytona, so we got it mixed up.
quick. Say it again.
Hill won Daytona, or excuse me, Hill won Talladega, Love won Daytona.
That's what I thought. Okay, and Love won Talladega a year ago, back in April of last year. We lost Dan's connection there. So, Dev, all the pressure's on you. All the pressure's on you. Which driver in the Gen 7 era and Cup Series, we love doing this now, 7 races, has the most points in the Cup Series at Daytona?
William Byron.
He has 2 wins. He has 2 top 5s. He has the 12th most points. That's how crazy super speedway racing is. Good guess. I've mentioned his acuity at Daytona on this podcast already. Dan is back.
Dan is back.
Dan, do you have a clue at who has the most points in this current gen car at Daytona?
In the Cup Series, yeah.
The Cup Series?
In the Cup Series.
He's someone who could really
not
use a
Byron,
good
'cause I already
run
said
Saturday.
Byron.
Someone who could really use a good run.
Well, based on the fact of Chase's consistency through not just this year, but other years, Chase, is he it?
Chase has the 11th most points and a 20.9 average finish.
Wow. I don't know.
It is Alex Bowman.
Whoa.
Alex Bowman, who has not won at Daytona in his career, but 10.4 average finish, 128 points over 7 races. All right,
Devin
so
and I
it's
talked
about
about
30, a
this.
little over 30 points a race.
Devin and I talked about this at the beginning of the, he was on the road coming back from Virginia, and we were talking about the fact that if I were the Hendrick organization, I would line up all my cars to ensure to help.
I said it earlier. Yeah.
Bowman be able to take advantage of the opportunity of a win at Daytona.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. Because William Byron, I should have mentioned earlier, drivers don't even remember when they won the regular season points championship. Chase Elliott, I think in the same video you shot, Devin, if I'm not mistaken, it could have been you. It may have been Front Stretch. Chase Elliott didn't even remember when he won the regular season championship. He's like, whatever year that was. Yeah, he's like, oh, whatever year that was. It was your video. It was definitely your video. I was watching it, I think, Sunday morning. Okay.
I would say, as nonchalant as that might look, I would say that they remember the years that they won regular championship.
I probably shouldn't have taken it at face value, but still.
It on the podcast yet, but William Byron locked up the regular season title this weekend.
That's where I was going. Byron's won the regular season championship. Elliott, I think, has a decent shot at. I got to pull the points up again. The points. Hold on a second. Elliott has only a 5-point lead over Hamlin to hold second in points, and Hamlin has only a 7-point lead over Larson. So they still have to race for something, because even though all that focus will be on Byron getting 15 bonus points, there's still 10 bonus points for finishing second in the regular season, and then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 all the way down for finishing in those spots. So there's still a little something, but it's more valuable to the whole organization, money-wise and everything, that you get the other teammate in there. And by the way, Bowman's car better be more legal at Daytona than it was at the Roval last fall. Underweight, knocked out of the playoffs, Logano put in. Bowman drove a heck of a race. We got to call it on PRN. And in the end, Logano squeaked through, and then he won Vegas the next week, then won the championship. So all of it ends up mattering there. Will the Hendrick drivers push Alex Bowman to the win? Respond right here. Okay, now, Alex Bowman, most points last 7 races at Daytona. That's the Gen 7 era. Chris Buescher, who won this race, I believe it was 3 years ago, right? 2022? He won it 3 years ago. 2022, second most points. Bubba Wallace, third most points. Don't sleep on Bubba Wallace. And will he be lined up to help push Tyler Reddick and try to ensure that win as well? Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex Jr., and Christopher Bell, your top 10 drivers in points. Only 2 drivers in the top 10 points last 7 races at Daytona have won during that stretch. William Byron, two-time Daytona 500 winner, a three-time Daytona winner. His first career win came in this race 5 years ago. Only the 12th most points. Stenhouse Jr. won the 2023 Daytona 500. Otherwise, though, 18th in points last 7 Daytona races. Austin Dillon. Oh, that guy. 3 years ago. Oh, that's what Austin Dillon won in 2022. Busher won in 23. Austin Dillon, 2022 winner, 24th most points, 7 Daytona 5 races. That's crazy, right? So it's all over the place. MRN's got the call. This will be on Big NBC, by the way. 11 Alive here in Atlanta, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. My home channel now. So, channel, as Killer Mike would say. So it's going to be fun to watch there. And with that said, is it time for final thoughts? Devin says he got to go to work. It's time for final thoughts. All right, I got donuts to pick up, so I need to also. So that's what that alarm is, in fact, going off in the back. Dev, final thoughts for you before you head to Daytona.
Yeah, with Matt Crafton announcing his retirement here. Kind
Thank
of
you
ironic
for remembering
how it came
that.
about with where Ty Majeski and all that happened this weekend, wrecking his teammate unintentionally. But
yes,
I will pay, because I was a Matt Crafton fan growing up. I started watching NASCAR and the Truck Series, but I will pay somebody $1 million, $1 million of Ty Gibbs' money to get a Matt Crafton NASCAR Camping World, or no, Gander Outdoors Truck Series Championship hat from 2019. I got a really cool story about that, but I'm going to save that for the end of the season.
Oh man, okay. And let me go. Matt Crafton, only 3 starts in the Cup Series. He actually has no Xfinity Series starts. His whole career is trucks. 85 career starts, only 15 wins. And he didn't win for his first 8 seasons. He didn't win. And then he broke through and won in 2008. He didn't win again until 2011. He's never won. He had that 1 year, 2015, where he won 6 races. Otherwise, it's been 1, 2, or 0 wins a year. But he's a 3-time truck champion, and there is an argument to be made. 26 years in trucks, full time. There's an argument to be made based on 3 truck championships outside Hall of Fame chance. We're not going to debate it here today. I say no because only 15 wins, but 3 championships, and one of those championships was in the full season format. 2013 and 14 were full season champions, pre-playoffs. So, interesting stuff there. Matt Crafton, cheers to him. Ty Majeski will go from the 98 to the 88, stay at ThorSport next season. I thought there would be a chance that Ty Majeski would maybe get promoted somewhere, but there are no Ford teams except for Haas Factory in the Xfinity Series, and he doesn't have a big check to bring with him. So Ty Majeski will stay in trucks there, the short track ace. Dan Elliott, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. This is for you, Devin, because
I won't listen.
These are drive plates. They go on the rear end of a race car. They are splined to where the axle comes out of the third member and propels. This is what drives the car. The current car, the Gen 6 car and earlier. We were at Richmond in 1983, and the rule book stated that you couldn't use any aluminum components on the drive line. And somebody on our team thought it would be neat to save about 3 pounds and run these aluminum drive plates. And as the car went through inspection, NASCAR quickly confiscated them, and they remained in NASCAR's possession for a number of years. Dick Beatty became the competition director, and he came to me one day and he said, I was rummaging through the warehouse of our confiscated items and run across these drive plates. Would you like to have them? And I said, I'd love to have them.
Of course you did.
So
That's
anyway,
so cool.
He gave the drive plates back to me, and I got to tell the story. I was on the way to Richmond. This was probably about 1983, 84 as well. And I had a friend that was state trooper here, David McElroy, and the team was always late getting the truck loaded. I drove the tractor and trailer, and they were loading the truck. David called me on the landline phone, which wasn't any cell phones, and he said, you hadn't left yet. And I said, truck's not loaded. He said, Richmond is how far away? I said, 10 and a half, 11 hours, the best you can do. And that was already probably 7 in the evening. And he said, who's going with you? I said, nobody. He said, well, if you'll pick me up under the bridge over here at 441 at Commerce, I'll ride with you. And he said, if you get stopped, I'll just slip over in the seat and flash my badge. So anyway, I left the shop, got over there. I was over there probably about 8:30, I suppose, because that's close to the South Carolina line, and picked up David. So we go up the road, and sometime in the wee hours of the morning, he was in the passenger seat and he had nodded off, and I was in the driver's seat. And somewhere going up through as we got into Virginia, I nodded off and raised back up. I was in the emergency lane and jerked back over, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and he said, "Did you doze off?" I said, "I think I did." And he said, "We neither one slept any at all after that. There was no sleeping after that."
Oh, that's crazy. I've had a few times driving back from your late night deals at Gresham Motorsports Park where it was a white knuckle drive there. I wish I hadn't done it, frankly, because that's dangerous stuff, man. Well, Dan, you've always got great stories there. Hey, my quick 5 to go final thoughts is I added on to Devin's there about Matt Crafton, and I loved your story, Dan. That was great. Austin Dillon now has 6 career cup wins, and you can make a case in like 4 of them that they're his biggest career win. He's never won more than once in a season. His first win, I was there, the fuel mileage Coke 600 win, 2017. Then he wins the Daytona 500 the next year. So you could say either of those, your first win, which is a crown jewel, or the Daytona 500, biggest career wins. But he wins Texas in like triple overtime or so in 2020. At Daytona, he qualifies for the playoffs in 2022 by winning. In 2024, he has that Richmond race, which I don't think he would say is his biggest career win because of how that all went, and it didn't put him in the playoffs. And then he has this one where he performed better than any of his other wins. There wasn't any hijinks to it, no spinning out Eric Almirola on the last lap, no nothing. And he goes to victory lane. And I'm not sitting here arguing he deserves to keep the 3 car based on his stats or anything like that, but he does now have 6 career wins, and there are very few people you could argue in the history of the sport that have fooled around and gotten 6 career wins. He may not have deserved to make 433 starts in the Cup Series. Arguably, I'm saying may not have been, but that's 6 wins. Austin Dillon, cheers to you. Enjoy it. And I know you have been. All right. Hey, thank you all for listening to the show today. I know it was a long one. We had a lot of Anchorman stuff to talk about at the beginning. So yeah, we covered movies that we've seen or not seen and had a good laugh about them. We went in depth at Richmond and Devin. You had such great coverage there. Y'all be sure to go 5 to Go Facebook page, 5 to Go podcast on YouTube. Check out the interviews that Devin did, the other coverage. It was great. Of course, we talked about the 2026 schedule, the playoff outlook, and the Cup Series there. We don't have much to talk about the Xfinity Series playoff outlooks, and, of course, the big changes with the Truck Series playoffs, schedule changes, Matt Crafton's retirement, and so much. So thank you for tuning in for that and listening to us, and we can't wait to bring you another episode here. Next week, though, I'll be out of town. Hey, I didn't tell you that, did I? So we'll figure that out. We'll figure out how this show gets on the air and what happens as Dan gives me the cue to exit. So, but nonetheless, enjoy Daytona, and we'll be back with you very soon. So for Dan Elliott, Devin Kupka, Doug Turnbull, God bless. Be sure to check us out, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, goprn.com. And if you heard something you like, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, all right? And we'd love reviews and all the stuff I'm supposed to ask my subs about, okay? God bless you all and take care. Happy Daytona. Thanks for listening to 5 to Go podcast.